I'm holding this thing, and it says, be badass, right? And I was looking at this, is like, yeah, I'm very much into, if you don't understand the language, it's kind of like an American expression or whatever, an English expression of just kind of go kick some ass and be your best self. And I'm all about that. And I've spent my career really supporting badass leaders and badass, particularly, it's very weird. In this community, there is a huge feminine kind of energy, which is absolutely powerful. And I'm not referring to gender, I'm just referring to the holding of the feminine power, which I think in our world is largely missing. It's almost like we've been leading a whole lot about, with masculine kind of supposedly knowing, what we're doing and where we're going, but apparently it's not so effective. So I'm all about supporting, what Jeanette was speaking about, and of course this be badass thing. It really came from a woman that gave it to me, a woman who I've been coaching for 14 years. I mean, I always ask her every year, like, why do you keep hiring me? You should just stop hiring me. But she's a badass woman leader in the world, and she just keeps working with me. And she said, well, I'm going to give you this. This is who I am. Anyway, um, I want to, as Jeanette says, our hour is quite, it goes by quite fast. We've opened these calls for the world. I'm so happy to see you guys all here. There is some of you who don't are not members yet in our community. We've made becoming a member in our community ridiculously easy. you know, um, I think we all need to be asking ourselves these days, what's your excuse, or what is our excuse? And I don't mean what is our excuse about not being a member of this community, although I agree with that, but I mean more the question of, like, what's your excuse? Like, when are you gonna just go out there and do your thing? Like, be yourself, speak your voice, let your truth be known, express your beauty, express your power, whatever. When is that going to happen? If it's not now, then when is it going to be? I've worked with, I come from the world of high achievement. And so the reason I'm here is because I learned high achievement can kill spirits along the way, including my own. Uh, it's very strange, when you're like on a high achieving journey and all you're wanting to do is win, and you're looking at the external scoreboard for how you're doing and who you are. Pretty much you're going to burn out. Sooner or later, you're going to exhaust yourself and you're going to burn out. So emotions, right? Emotions are incredible energies, and we must learn how to work with our emotional energy, how to manage that emotional energy so that we don't fall into the trap of presenting ourselves as our outcomes. Like, oh, who are you? Oh, look at my results. No, in most of the time, we're not asking that. Like, tell us who you are. It's not about what you've achieved. Like, tell us all your diplomas and, all your accolades and all this. I think particularly these days, that's not important. So there is one thing about that Jeanette mentioned that I want to emphasize. And I just want to mention a joke that I used to lead mindfulness um, courses, like very early in my career. So they would last 6 weeks. And mindfulness is all about the practice of mindfulness, of being present to your own experience and building the muscle so that you can come back from the fantasies of your minds into the reality of the present. And it's a beautiful practice that has become very popular. But anyway, I was leading these mindfulness courses. It was mindfulness-based stress reduction courses. And 6 weeks, and around the fifth week of this one course, this guy in the course raised his hand and asked me, I have a question, like, how do we become present? The only problem is that I had been talking about that we had been practicing that for 5 weeks. So everybody looked like, oh, are you just arriving now? Anyway, sometimes we're in our heads and we don't listen to our lives, and we don't listen to the moment, and we kind of say, and by the way, I am an expert at that. I'm an expert at distracting myself. So after 30 years of practice, uh, I'm still a beginner at the whole thing. So anyway, just wanted to mention that something Jeanette said that I just want to emphasize. One of the beautiful things about our community is that we're not here to tell anybody what to do. It may be strange for you to hear this, because we live in a world that is always very fast at, oh, I know, and let me tell you, what you need to do. I can't help to notice that the crisis that we're in could have been prevented, and that somehow we managed to block the experts' advice at a very early stage of this pandemic. And we have to look very seriously, I've been saying, into what is it that has led us to block this information from society to the extent that we are experiencing such incredible damage in our world. And I want to call your attention to how we as individuals do the same. We somehow have grown very good at blocking our own truth from our own selves. So what's happening out there, it's really what's happening inside of us. And we tend to have the reaction or the tendency to go out into the external world to try to fix things. Oh, well, what is it that blocked the experts' knowledge from getting to us early on so that we could have prevented a crisis? But we very seldom ask ourselves the same question. And this community is about many things. You could say it in many ways. That's what I meant. But it's really about only just a couple of things. One is you learning to listen to yourself so that you can act in integrity with yourself, with who you are. Because when you do that, you're going to have sustainable energy to create what's important for you. And you're not going to fall into the holes of your losses or your wins. That's not very useful. That's why we do not give advice. We provide a, a community or a space through which people can just be relaxed as being themselves through the very simple practice, one of them anyway, is the practice of reflecting the other person. And we do that a lot here. And we're finding that it is incredibly powerful, because the message that, for us to become our own best teachers is not an overnight thing. You cannot just say, well, I'm going to just listen to me. And it's just like the mind. You cannot say, well, I'm not going to listen to my mind, I'm just going to be present. Try it, see how successful you are. It's not easy, but if you practice, you become quite better at it. And something miraculous happens also along the way, which is you become more calm. You're not in such a rush. And there is many reasons for that, but one of them is that you begin to respect yourself and you begin to honor yourself above all else, so that you embody an integrity that demands attention. Particularly attention from yourself to yourself. It's not attention from the outside, which we're so good at that as a society. I mean, the levels of narcissism in our world are probably at an all-time high. We're even led by narcissism. Look at the leadership, most of the leadership in the world. So I'm not saying attention from the outside, attention from the inside. And of course, because of that, you're going to attract the right people into your life, the right, for you, I mean, the right kind of scenarios unfolding around you. And your projects and your lives flow a lot easier that way. That's the reason I live. That's the reason I'm in the world. It only took me 56 years to get here. So I say it in some sort of humor, but it is actually true. So I'm going to ask you to come into your present moment right now and do a little practice with me. And then after that practice, we're going to share with each other, because the thing that I enjoy the most is shutting up and listening. So I can't wait to get there myself. But let's do this exercise and listen then to whatever unfolds in our conversation. It's always good to end anything with clarity. So just kind of pay attention to you, what has been shared so far that is actually something that resonates with you, so that you can keep it clear in your mind and in your presence. For me, there is a couple of things that I've said and Janet has said that are key. One is not moving forward into the external so fast, because then we lose ourselves and we burn out and we become resentful. So if you're the kind of person that I have been, which is a high achiever who doesn't stop for nothing, then be careful. You know, you can still achieve a lot. You can be a badass woman or man or whatever, but you can also be somebody with integrity, with tremendous amount of alignment between who you are and what you do. And that's what we want in the world, for us to turn this ship around. So I'm going to do this exercise. Please follow me. I'm going to ask you to take a few breaths in and breathe out, but I'm going to ask you to do it in a certain way, and do it any way you want, because it's you who's doing it, but I'm offering you this direction. So we're going to take the breath through the mouth. We're going to expand our chest when we're breathing, and then in the out breath, you expand your abdomen. So it's kind of like the opposite of what we're used to doing. So it's like, and I'm expanding my abdomen on the out breath. I'm not doing it with a whole lot of pause. So try to follow me. So let's all do it together. Expanding the chest, expanding your abdomen. Stop. Sense your bodies. Notice changes. You might be feeling tingles around your head or your fingertips or your toes or somewhere. And just for your own self, just what is happening? You don't need to mention it here, but mention it to yourself. What is actually happening for you? What parts of your body are you feeling more or less or the same? What has become noticeable? Is there an emotion that is emerging that you notice? Now, we're going to take an in breath again through the mouth, and we're going to hold it for about 10 seconds and then fully exhale. And then after we exhale, we're going to talk with each other.